2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frank Deneen with our now annual preview of the National Matchplay Championships that are held in Royston this weekend coming. It's been great to see the event back on the calendar. It's great that everybody's available to play, and it's a fantastic event in its own right, and we are so looking forward to playing on the beautiful Royston course, which is, as always, one of the most pristine in the world. We are going to talk about the matches and give a little bit of a prediction on them. Hopefully we won't upset anybody or defame anyone, but hopefully we'll get through that. The other thing is too, we might talk about betting and odds. This in no way endorses betting or anything to do with it. It's just for illustration purposes only. I am absolutely delighted to be joined this evening by two players and two aficionados of the game, both senior players, both capable of winning championships in their own right and who know the Royston course like the back of their hands. One of them is probably the best player not to be in the field, and we are talking with John Ross Crangle. Good evening, John. John Ross.
How are you doing, Frank? How are you?
Good. You can hear me loud and clear. And the other aficionado that we have is Darren Keogh from the Royston Club as well. Good evening, Darren.
Good evening, Frank. How are you?
Good stuff. So we're all looking forward to it. Royston's in good shape, I hear, Darren. You're all set?
Yeah. No, we're delighted with where it's at now. So look, just a couple of small bits and pieces tidying up to be done now, and we'll be all ready for Saturday morning.
Great. The Augusta of pitch and putt, I always call it. It's always pristine. Great facilities, great course. Everything couldn't be better, and good location as well for everybody to come from all over the country. Right, guys, we're going to get into this. We're going to go through each one of the matches. It's rather quickly, but the sections are broken down into the individual sections, and we'll just play it out and see where we come at it. Darren, I'm going to ask you for your opinion first in the first half of the section. Then JR, your own opinion if you differ or agree, and we'll go through the matches. And the first match, 9:00 on Saturday morning, we have the defending champion Kieran Earls from Brough, and he plays Michael Conway from Tralee, the intermediate national stroke play champion from St. Stephen's. Darren, you've any thoughts on this one?
Well, I just look, it's very hard to look past Kieran Earls there. I think Frank's defending champion, and I think he pitches the right kind of ball for Royston. So I kind of couldn't really see past Kieran there.
Excellent. JR?
Yeah, it'd be the same as Darren. It's hard to look past Kieran. He was brilliant last year when he won it in Larkspur. I think he won a Scratch Cup recently as well, maybe one or two actually. Mick Conway put in a good performance there in Tralee, but I think that he's actually from Tralee, so but he done well in the intermediates to win. So look, it's probably not the easiest start for Kieran, but I think he still should have enough.
Yeah, I think so. So Michael Conway is an up-and-coming player, played very well in St. Stephen's. We're putting that down as a 1, which means that we're picking Kieran to win. Next match, toughie, Paddy O'Sullivan from Fermoy versus Martin Keohane from Brough. Darren?
Yeah, well, looking at the qualifying, I think Paddy was the top qualifier down in Cork, so I know they're only recently back into playing the pitch and putt full time, but it's Martin's a very good player as well. It's looking at it, I think I'd kind of have to side with Paddy, just going by the scoring down in Cork. If you're a top qualifier in Cork, you're obviously playing good pitch and putt.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be any sort of a gimme or an easy match. But I think if Paddy plays his stuff, you kind of have to side with Paddy.
Very good. JR?
I'd be of the opposite opinion now. I think Martin could be the one to come through there. Martin's very underrated. You look at the lads in Limerick, and you see O'Donovan and you see Hanley and the likes of Earls, and Keohane, he's always there. He's always very solid. Now Paddy, I know he's only back this year or the last couple of years, but I think he's done very well in St. Anne's. I think he finished third, did he, in the stroke play, Martin Keohane?
Yeah, we got the net prize, yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, the net prize, yeah.
Yeah.
But his very solid player. Just don't know if Paddy might be just lacking a bit of championship, not form, but maybe practice and games, Martin, I think Martin might just take it.
Very good.
Be a tight one though.
This is a potential banana skin for Paddy O'Sullivan in my view, and I've got the deciding vote here. So Martin Kehan has caught me a couple of times in Munster match plays. He's beaten me twice. The twice that I've played him, he's beaten me. He's a very underrated player, very very good player. Tends to spin the ball quite a lot though, and if the greens are very fast, that may be a bit of a problem. Paddy's on the way back. I was talking to Paddy during the week. I think he's very confident. I'm going to go with Paddy on this one, so the deciding vote goes with Paddy. The next match is Damien Creevy from Lucan and John Farrell from Bruff. Darren, do you know those?
Honest with you, I know Damien. John now I wouldn't be very familiar with, so... Yeah. Kind of Damien's out Lucan, isn't he?
I don't know. I don't know either of these two guys, to be honest.
Yeah. Like Damien's a good player now. Damien, I've seen him play around the circle in Leinster, and I know he's well capable. But John Farrell, I wouldn't be sure.
Yeah.
Where he's at.
You're going to give us some insight into Damien Creevy, are you?
Yeah, Damien's a very solid player. He won the Lucan Scratch Cup a couple of years ago. He played fantastic that day. He did 41, 42. He won the Dublin Matchplay before as well. So he's well able to play. He won the intermediate stroke play actually in Cunningarda in 2015, I think it was.
Very good.
He's a very solid player. He knows how to win. And same with Darren there. I don't really know enough about John Farrell. I'd imagine he probably related to Patsy and the likes of the lads down there. Like Patsy, a very solid player as well, so I would imagine John isn't far off him either. But I just think experience, maybe Damien might just take that one.
Excellent. I mean, sometimes some of the Dublin guys go under the radar for us down in Cork and stuff. I don't know Damien. The name isn't even that familiar to me. But obviously, with that pedigree, he's going to do well here. I think he'll beat John Farrell, to be honest. So we're putting him down for number one. Thomas Hanley Bruff versus Jimmy Quinn from Fermoy. Jimmy Quinn, probably the guy who travels most length and breadth of the country to play the game. Darren. Has he been haunting Royston, has he?
Oh, he's been haunting Royston for years. I was going to say to you, Jimmy Quinn he's got more sneaky practice in Royston than anyone ever, and that's in the last 4 years, never mind since he qualified. So I think he could be dangerous. He's obviously playing well. It's an interesting one. I think a lot of people would expect Tommy to win that match, but I think it could be very close. It wouldn't surprise me now if that one went down to the wire.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, very similar. Like Jimmy's a staple of the match play, I suppose, and I suppose it's great to see him in it for this year. I know for years he's been there and supporting on the sidelines. He's always at everything. He's a great supporter of the game. Taking on Tommy though, I think Tommy might just have too much for him. But then again, Tommy can be very streaky. But if Tommy does get going, I don't see Jimmy taking him. But look, I'd be rooting for Jimmy. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Tommy will just take him.
The only thing that I'm going to say is, it's great that a player like Jimmy Quinn, who gives so much to the game, and I mean that he supports everything. He plays the length and breadth of the country. He supports the game in every way, and he can be a bit Marmite at times, but he's such a supporter of the game that he deserves to have his day in the sun in this. I watched him play the 18th hole in Fermoy. I saw his hand shaking as he was trying to mark the ball. It's brilliant for the game that the likes of Jimmy can play in this event, and well done to all of the intermediates, and there are a good few in this, and it's great to see them. I think Jimmy's unlucky with the draw, to be honest. I think he could have given a real surprise to somebody, but I think Tommy's just is a class player, so we're going to go for Tommy on this one. Next one, another really, really top class match. Paul Nolan Navin now obviously used to be from Dublin, is playing John Cahill from Fermoy. This is a tight one, I think. Darren, your
vision? It's a very interesting match. I think a lot of people automatically expect John to win this match, but as we all know, Paul Nolan is no idiot. He's a very, very good player. Picked up a couple of scratch cups, and I think and a county stroke player recently. He's playing well. He's playing all the time. Look, John Cattle the same, and John's got plenty of practice in Royston as well, so he knows his way around there. So I think it'll be a terrible tight match.
Yeah.
There's only going to be a shot or two in this either way. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a tie hole match. Somebody winning on the fourth tie hole or something along those lines. I think there's very little between them, and it's a very tough match for both players for a first round match.
Who you called for?
I think I'd have to side with John just because he's been in Royston more.
No problem. JR?
Yeah, Paul's moved to Navan now. He's been living in Kells for a long time, but he's always supported Dublin, and he stayed with Ern's Oil and then moved to Portmarnock. But I think he's moved to Navan now, and his game's taken off again.
It has. It seems to have given him a lease of life.
Yeah, he's playing a lot more. I think he was doing a lot of work in Ern's Oil, and obviously when that unfortunately went, he probably lost a bit and went to Portmarnock for a while with Jason Larkin and Jim McLaughlin. But as I said, he's living in Kells now. He's playing a lot in Navan. He loves it down there. He's playing very well. He's done some super scoring. He's won the Meath stroke play in his first year there as well. John's made for match play. I think he's very aggressive. I think John might take him. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think that's going to be one of the highlights of the first round.
I think so.
Definitely, I think John's going to take him.
Yeah, very good. That goes down as a 2 for John Cahill. Sean Goggin McBride versus Barry Thornton McBride, and obviously it's unfortunate that they're local or two players from the same club drawing each other. Darren? Yeah,
as you say, very unfortunate the way the draws turned out for them. But I think I would have to fancy Sean Goggin there. We all know he likes it around Royston. He gets a lot of sneaky practice as well. He always seems to be working up our direction. But look, he plays the place well. He likes it there. He finished third, did he, in the stroke play there, or fourth in the stroke play there a couple of years back. Yeah, so look, I know Barry's a decent player as well, but I think if Sean turns up and plays his stuff, I would have to expect Sean to win that.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, I think very, very similar thoughts there to Darren. I think Sean's a very, very solid player. Look, he's very strong around Royston. He was right there in Royston 4 years ago. He was right there in Lucan as well when Ray Murphy beat him on the 18th, I think Ray got that fantastic put down the back of the 17th, wasn't it?
That's right.
But Sean's always been thereabouts. Maybe this year could be the one where he kicks on a bit. So I know he really likes Royston. Barry's not a bad player at all, though. He can give him a game, but I just think Sean will just have too much for him.
Very good. That goes down as a 2. Sean's a super match player as well. Never underestimate how much people can pull out of match play. Right, next one. Joseph McGrath Jr. Erie versus Declan Freeman from Bishopstown. Declan obviously used to be out of Fermoy. Darren, your choice here?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one as well. You're talking about great supporters of the game, like Joe McGrath, another man who goes everywhere and has been for years, and I'd love to see him win a couple of matches. But I don't know. It's just, you probably know more about the form now of Declan, but I know what he's capable of, and I know what he did there in the inter-county.
Yeah. Not
even with his own club for the last 5 or 6 holes. So
you don't need to get into that.
He's obviously capable of it as well. I think it'll be a tight match, but I'd expect Declan to get through. But Joe's a good player, and if he's on his game, he'll give him a right run for it.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, Joe's very solid. I think there's a thing with a lot of players and clubs that they're very solid in their own counties and in and around their own county. because they only have a certain amount of courses. And Joe's probably one of them that's really, really strong in Offaly and probably hasn't done it outside it. Declan, he's playing very well. Obviously, he's a great scorer in Rockledge, and he won the Scratch Cup there, 23 under. To do 23 under down there is obviously very good. Anywhere 23 under is unreal. But I think Declan, he's in a bit of form, and he's a solid player. I think he's really broke through the last few years, and he sort of kept that. He sort of kept that level up as well. So I think Declan might just take that one.
Very good. That goes down as a 2. The next one, we have Garrett Walsh from Lucan versus Chris Scannell from Collins. Darren.
Yeah, I'll be 100% honest with you now. Garrett Walsh, I do not know much about. Yeah. Name is not very familiar, but I would have to say it kind of wouldn't really matter who it was when you see who he's playing. You would have to take a very good player to beat Chris Scannell in any match. So without knowing the opposition, I would think you'd have to be looking at Chris to come through in that.
JR?
Yeah, I think so. Garrett's a young guy. He's coming through. He's played well in the intermediate, and he was in CPM originally. Obviously, he's moved to Lucan now. Garrett, he scraped in, I think maybe second last in Loughlinstown in the qualifiers. But he done well coming in. He's fairly solid, but I think, as Darren was saying, Chris is just a level above. I think if he gets that putter going, Chris is going to be very dangerous this whole weekend,
Yeah.
And he's been in good form.
He's been on brilliant form. I don't think I've seen Chris Scannell play as much or on as much of the circuit this year than the last 10 years. Super. I classed him one time as one of the greatest players ever to play the game, and he certainly is that. And that goes down as a 2. Chris Scannell moving into the next round. Next one is another little. I think this could be another little tricky win for whoever it is. DJ Lynch from Tipperary Hills versus Ian Donnelly from Kilnear. Darren.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting match as well. DJ probably goes under the radar quite a bit, and a lot of people wouldn't even probably know who he is, but quite often you turn up at Scratch Cups and you look at the board and you go, he's in with a 93 or a 94. He's well capable. He's a very good player. Mm-hmm. And Ian, obviously, very good player as well, and does like it around Royston. And I know he's a good record around there in Scratch Cups and knocking on the door and always kind of out in the last 3 ball. So I think it'll be a very close match, a lot closer than people think. I do fancy Ian just to scrape through, but I think a lot of people might just underrate DJ a little bit.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, absolutely. Same as Darren again. DJ is a very solid player. I think he won Larkspur Park this year, maybe a few weeks ago. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it might have been last year, but he's a very solid player. Ian Donnelly, we all know Ian. Ian's well able to play. He's a good match player. He's a former Leinster Matchplay champion. So I just think Ian's experience around Royston will be enough just to get him by, but I don't think it's going to be an easy match.
Very good. I think that would be very tight, but it'd be a very interesting match to watch as well, if we got the chance. Right, next match. Isn't it great to see this guy's name on the sheet? Absolutely delighted he's back to play. Derek Courtney from Glenville versus Mark Gibney from Trim. Darren.
Yeah, again, now I wouldn't be overly familiar with Mark Gibney, to be honest with you, Frank.
Yeah.
And people will look at it and they'll assume Derek Courtney will win. I think it's a really, really big match for Derek. I think if he can win this match and kind of get into the competition, I think Derek, he'd be dangerous. But this match is important, Derek, he'll want it.
He will.
He'll be trying 400%, but I think he just needs to get through this match, and he might be able to build a run in it. I say I'm not overly familiar with Mark, so I'd be sticking with Derek to come through that one.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, I was there. Obviously there today when Derek qualified. He wasn't doing much in the first 27 holes or so, and I think it was the 11th hole in Loughlinstown. He was long by about 6 or 7 feet, and he did horrible chip down the hill that I'm not messing. If it didn't hit the hole, it was going probably down into the river. And it's moments like that that you get that spur you on, and Derek went and birdied the next 4 holes, and that ultimately got him through,
Yeah.
Derek has always been a super match player, and it is great to see him back playing. And I think that moment there, and Derek even said on the day, maybe that's a moment that, kicks me on here, and Derek, he'll say he's not playing much, but believe me, Derek is playing.
Yeah.
I know Derek.
I hear he's out every night of the week with Jack.
He's up there playing somewhere.
Yeah. I hear his son Jack is very keen, and I hear he's out every night of the week with Jack. So, don't believe everything you hear. Yeah.
Exactly. But then again, Mark is in good form as well. I know he won the Trim Scratch Cup, and I think he done very well in a couple of other Scratch Cups as well. But it won't be easy. But I think what Darren's saying, if Derek gets through this one, and if he can get his first win again on the Sunday, I tell you, Derek's right in this.
Excellent. We're giving that to Derek, so are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Next one. Michael Darcy, Ardnacrusha versus Stephen O'Reilly, Hillview. Stephen obviously had a huge run into Matchplay last year. Who are we going for this one? Darren?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Frank. Look, he had a great run last year, and surely that'll stand to him. And he's done quite a bit of practice up in Royston. Yes. I've seen him most evenings there we've been in, so he's obviously taken it quite serious. I think he'll just have a little bit too much for Michael Darcy. So I'd be siding with Stephen on that one.
Yeah, very good. JR?
Yeah, it'd be on a similar hymn sheet as Darren there. Stephen's a very solid player. He played in Old County for a while there as an associate. His putter can run a little bit cold at times, but I think last year is a huge any player. I think he'll have enough for Michael. Michael's obviously a fairly solid player. I'm not sure if he's an inter or senior, but he plays a lot of international tournaments and all with Pacelli. So I think Stephen will just take him though.
Yeah, I actually, now that you mentioned Darren, I've seen Stephen O'Reilly all over the place as well. He was at St. Stephen's Scratch Cup, he was in Rock Lodge, he was in Collins's. He's definitely putting in the effort, and it's great to see that being rewarded with his run in the match last year. So we've that down for Stephen. Right, this is an interesting match. The GOAT, the greatest player ever, Ray Murphy, is playing Brian Webster from Larkspur Park. Brian seems to be returning to a bit of form. 18 under in the qualifying, did really well down in St. Anne's in my 3-ball, and looked for a while he was going to challenge for the entire thing. Darren, your call this one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be a little bit controversial here. We all know Ray's the GOAT and the greatest of all time, but I just have a sneaky feeling if there's going to be an upset, a big one, I think this could be the match. Brian's playing very well. He has to be if he's a top qualifier in Tipperary. I know he's practicing, he's putting in the effort. As you say, he had a good run down in St. Anne's, and he loves it around Royston. Absolutely loves it. He's had a couple of good chances of winning the Scratch Cup there, and not that he'll want to remind them of sticking it in the bunker and taking a 5 on the 18th, but you know what, in match play you can afford one bad hole, and I think this just might be the one. He'll be up for it. Look, we all know Ray Murphy, look, he takes a fair bit of taking down, but I do think if there's going to be what people would classify as a shock on the first day, I think this might be the one, and I'm going to go for Brian.
Very good. JR?
I don't think that's going to happen. That's just my own opinion now. I think if this was last year and it was over 18 holes, I would fancy Brian. Not even if it was in Larkspur, even if it was in Royston. I just think Ray is going to wear him down. Ray might be slow at times recently, but once he gets going, Ray is capable of pulling off 8 or 9 in a row, especially around the course like Royston. I just think he's going to wear Brian down. I just think Ray will take it. But it's not an easy start for Ray. No way is it an easy start. But I think Ray is just going to take him.
Thanks, guys. You give me the casting vote. Look, I really like Brian Webster. I think I think he was very impressive. I think this is a huge potential for Banana Skin in the first round. But I have to go with Ray, I'm afraid. Just because I want to see later on in the round his match, who's going to win his match with Derek Courtney in the next round, or the round after next. But I'm going to go with Ray. So I might get the casting vote. So Ray goes into the next round. But this could be a great match, and I think it could be very tight. And I know that there's a number of people have fancied Brian Webster, and at a 2-1 price in the bookies, he's going to get a pasting if Brian Webster manages to get through. Right, Conor Clancy from Fermoy, young lad from Fermoy, versus Dean Granell from St. Patrick's. And
yeah, Frank, Conor Clancy, can't say I'm over familiar again now with Conor. There's a few new names there from Cork this year.
Yeah, he's a young lad. He did well a couple of years ago, but then he didn't play for a couple of years and just arrived up in qualifying for Fermoy, but played absolutely superbly around Fermoy. A bit of a Fermoy specialist, if I'm being honest, but a huge potential. He reminds me a lot, style-wise, of Owen Walsh, if you know what I mean. Nice, easy-going style, nothing flappable about him. I don't know how he'll do outside of Cork, though, to be honest. So. Yeah,
well, look, and he's playing a very good player. Like Dean Granell is a very good player. Leinster Matchplay champion. A great supporter of the game as well. And at every scratch cup you go to in Leinster, knows Royston inside out. Look, just going on what I know of the two players, I would suspect that Dean would win that match.
Very good, JR.
Yeah, I'll be of the same opinion here again. Dean Granell is a very, very solid player. I think this is going to be a big weekend for Dean. I really do. I think he's a super player. The St. Patrick lads are always very good match players. They've had a great record in this over the last few years. They have a lot of good players out, and Martin O'Neill and the likes of Dale Donahue when all getting to the final there a few years ago in Sea Point. I think Dean's going to be hard to beat in that game.
Very good.
I don't know enough about Conor now, to be honest with you. As you said, I just think Dean will take him.
Barry Thornton, Killinear, Killian O'Gorman, Listowel. Obviously, there's two Barry Thorntons, so people like me get mixed up between them. Darren, any joy?
Yeah, again, not very familiar with Killian O'Gorman now, Frank, unfortunately, so kind of a hard one to call.
He's an intermediate out of Listowel, and I don't know him that well, to be honest. I know of him, but I don't know him that well.
Yeah. Well, look, I would have to say, look, if someone was putting money in your hand, I'd be siding with Barry Thornton.
Very good. JR?
On that.
Yeah, Barry's another player who sort of comes in and drifts in and out of the game. I think he was second in a Leinster Matchplay a few years ago to Sean Downs in St. Bridget's. Mm-hmm. Matchplay around Royston, I think it'd just be too much for Killian. But Listowel, I tell you, they've had a fantastic year so far. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised to see Killian getting through. But I think just Barry might just have enough guns for him.
Very good. Now, a super match next. Gary Healy, Loughlinstown versus William Buckley Jr. Erie. Darren.
Yeah, potentially a very good match. Very, very kind of hard to call this one. I would say they're both kind of streaky players. So a lot of it probably comes down to the day. I'd side with Willie Buckley just because I feel Royston suits his style of pitching and the high ball, and he doesn't spin the ball much. And if he has his pitching going and his putter cooperates, I think he'd be actually very hard beat there at any stage in the competition. That's not in any way putting down Gary Healy. Gary's well capable of doing it, and as I say, Gary can go on it, can get very streaky. I think it'll be very close again. I think I'd just side with Willie, but there'll be nothing in it.
Very good.
It's a little bit unfair to be picking between the two of them.
I know. It's very tough to call. JR?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tough to call. Gary, a couple of years ago, I'd have said Willie Buckley all year long, all week long, all weekend long. He's changed his game a bit, Gary. He's he used to have a lot of right to left, but now he's at the straightening it out. He's a little left to right now, which is a huge tool in pigeon foot, I think. He's won the Dublin stroke play. He was top qualifier in Dublin, and I know it's all been in Loughnstown and all, but you know what? He's very, very solid at the moment. He's putting well. If he does get that putter going, well, look, both of them are streaky putters. Obviously, I'm going to have to just side with Gary. I think Gary just have enough for Willie, but I don't. It's going to be a great game, I think.
Yeah.
If both players turn up.
All right, you leave the deciding vote for me. This is a flip of a coin. I really think both. Gary has huge potential in the game. Could go long way in this event even. Willie Buckley, brilliant pitcher of the ball. At times he struggled with his putter. Streaky. I think I'm going to side with Willie Buckley just because I know him for so long, and I'm in favour of the old fellas. So Willie Buckley gets the vote. Right, next match. It's young Frank Deneen from St Anne's versus William Fitzgerald from Royston. Darren.
Well, obviously I don't know much about this Frank Deneen lad.
Hacker.
I think this is going to be a cracking match. I know Frank loves Royston, and I know you love it around there, and you really fancy your chances around there. Willie will be much the same, and I think Willie's a very underrated player. He's deadly around Royston. I think this could be a brilliant game. You're not going to win this by shooting 249s. You haven't got a hope. Very tough one to go. I'm going to have to side with the Kildare lad purely because he's Kildare, but I think this is, it's the match of that section for me, and possibly could be the match of the first half of the draw.
Very good. JR?
Yeah, it's tables have turned on you, Frank. I think you're the favourite this year, aren't you? But, yeah, look, William is obviously very solid. Royston, I think that the bookies price, I think he's overpriced anyway in the bookies anyway. I think he was 3-1, I think it's in, which is overpriced in my opinion.
Landed.
But I fancy Frank, probably just to edge it. His putting is so strong that if he just hits enough greens, I think Frank might just take him. Willie's a quiet enough player. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, boys. You give me the deciding vote.
He's a very solid player, Willie is. I know him, as Darren said, he's very underrated. As I said, I think he's one of a couple of Kildare stroke players or match players, and he's definitely not an easy one like you had last year anyway. No,
it's okay. I'm going to be very honest with this one, right? I think Deneen is really in form. He's done very well this year so far, back from lockdown and stuff. St Anne's gives him a bit of confidence. I think, unlike last year where the 18 holes suited him, I think the 36 holes might suit him in this match. I'm going to go with Frank just because I like him. And we're going to...
Someone has to.
Someone has to, yeah.
No, I go for Frank myself. I think Frank will just take.
Yeah, but I think the problem with Frank is that he can underestimate players, and he can build himself up for the big matches and then be a little flat for the next one. And but I don't think
you better build yourself up for this.
I don't think
Frank.
He's underestimating this one at all. I think this is going to be the real deal. Right. We're going to go on to the section. We have to speed up, boys. Flipping hell, this is... Anyway, right. Damien, we're going to swip it now. JR, you're going to go first. Damien Fleming, Deer Park versus Stephen Shore, Riverdale. Another brilliant match. Potentially
It's a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's a cracking game, all right. Look, Damien in Royston a couple of years ago was amazing the first two rounds. He just lost his game for a few holes in the final round, but Stephen, I think, had a great chance in St. Anne's. He had a great start, and he just didn't kick on. I think he's had a few chances there now where he could have kicked on and probably hasn't, but I just think Damien might just have enough for him.
Very good. I think this is Stephen Shore's final. Right, Darren?
Yeah, I think Damien might just squeeze past Stephen in this one, but like if there was only one match I could watch, I think this would be the one I'd follow in the first round. I think this is potentially a brilliant match. Two brilliant players, two players capable of going really low and crazy scoring. But I just think, looking at the field, you've only 4 or 5 people that have won the championship in the field, and Damien's one of them, and I think that'll come to his advantage in the match.
Very good. Gavin Carroll, Castle Island, and James Foley Jr. from St. Patrick's. I don't know either of these two. JR, do you know any of them?
I know both actually. I know James from St. Pat's. Look, obviously anyone getting through in St. Pat's and Bagnallstown and all like that, they're obviously a solid player. He's been part of the inter-county team a few times as well. Gavin, likewise, in Kerry, he's been there the odd time. I think he was away last year over in Canada or something. But I just think James, same again, just local knowledge. Playing Royston a bit, I think he'll take it.
Darren?
Yeah, I'd side with JR on that. Not that I'm overly familiar with either player, but I think James will take care of that match.
Very good. Sean Mulryan Trim and James Cleary from Larkspur Park.
Yeah, I think James should win this. Sean's, I think he might be on the edge of Inter Senior. Yeah, James, if he's any aspirations to win this, he's really going to have to take people like this out. I think this might be a good win for James.
Darren?
Yeah, I'd be of the same opinion, Frank. I think James Cleary's a top player, and look, yeah, I know he's back playing full time and back as interested as ever as he was in the game, and I'd fully expect him to win this match.
Great. Niall Winters Jr. Trim, again an underrated player, and Conor O'Hare Clog. This could be a very tight one. JR, call this one.
Yeah, this is another tight one. It's two players that have potential to really put in a good performance, but maybe they're both a bit inconsistent. Conor obviously has been in good form. I think he won the loud down stroke play. I think it was in Clog, but Niall's a very solid player. He plays a lot, plays in every scratch cup you see. I think experience, but playing a bit more competitively, I think Niall will win that one.
Very good.
Yeah, I'll be of the same opinion again. I don't think there'll be very much in it, but I think Niall might just be that little bit more consistent, and I think he might just squeak through.
Okay, very good. Again, two players I don't know at all. Joseph Danaher, Riverdale, and David McGrath, Bagnallstown.
Yeah, I'm the same here. Just looking at the names, I don't really know them. I think they both qualify from their own courses. In the qualifiers, I'm not 100% sure Riverdale now, but I don't know. I'm just going to side with the Leinster guy. Just same thing. Like he's qualifying with the St. Patrick's lads. He obviously finished ahead of a couple of lads like Paul Tobin and stuff. So he's obviously not a bad player. I'm just going to go David McGrath just by cost of time and just because he's Leinster, really. He's probably played the course a bit more.
There's no bias there at all, Jer. Go on, Darren.
Yeah, no, I'd be the exact same as well. Look, lack of knowledge of the players, but I'll go along with JR on that one.
It's games like this that are the reason why the bookie doesn't price all the matches, because he doesn't know the players and doesn't know what the form is, or it's very difficult in some of the cases. Right, Dave McGrath's down for that. That's a 2. Right, yeah. Jason Cregan Tralee versus Donal Tarpey from Mellows. Again, I don't know Donal Tarpey at all. Jason Cregan has some pedigree, especially around the Tralee area. George, do you know any of these two?
Yeah, I'd know both. Jason, I think will take it. Donal, he was up in Loughnstown, played the Scratch Cup. They've travelled a little bit more. I think this year the lads from Mellows, was 2 or 3 of them going around playing a bit more. But I think Jason will take that. But I expect a close game though.
Very good. Darren?
Yeah, again, I wouldn't be overly familiar with Donal. I know Jason a little bit. So, look, I would think he's qualifying over better standards. So, I would just have to side with Jason on that basis.
Very good. Now, here's a match. I think this could be a cracker. They talk about what is good about pitch and putt in that you can play the game from 8 to 80. Neither of these players are 8 or 80, but Evan Carey, up-and-coming youngster, Castletown, Mead Intercounty star, juvenile ex-champion, great prospect for the future of the game, and Sean Harkins from the Royston course. The great Sean Harkins, 3 times Irish match play champion, absolutely killer instincts, great proponent of the game. Call this one, JR. This is a toughie.
Yeah, it's very tough. Evan obviously came through with flying colours through the juveniles. Maybe didn't kick on the way he expected, and maybe a few others they were expecting a lot out of him when he came through into the adults. But I think he's starting to find his level now. He's done well in a lot of scratch cups recently. Sean's as solid as a rock, isn't he? He's especially around Royston. It's a very hard one to call. It's really the youth versus the I wouldn't say the past, but
the experience.
You know, a lot of experience, exactly. Yeah. If Sean gets ahead early, I can see possibly Evan getting frustrated, but I think I'm going to just go with Evan.
Very good. Darren?
Just with recent form.
Yeah, look here, another potential great match, and obviously Evan's playing very well and been up there. I think he won Lake Town Scratch Cup at the weekend and had a good first round down in St. Bridget's as well, so he's obviously playing very well, but I think I just have to side with Sean on this one. Like, look, nobody wants it more than Sean. Nobody practices or puts the effort in more than Sean. He plays Royston brilliant. He can play blindfolded, and he has this habit of, you know, and I've been on the wrong end of it. You might think you're outplaying him, and he just doesn't make mistakes. He knows how to win matches. And look, being a 3-time winner and having that experience, I think it was a close match. I think Sean will come out that side of it. And I think looking at the draw, I think Sean has to be looking at the draw and going, if I can win this match, I'm not in a bad little section here.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's another thing spurring them on.
Absolutely,
So
I think the section is open.
With Sean.
Yeah, I love Sean Harkins. I think I just love him. I just love everything about his approach to the game, how serious he takes it. You know, I know Evan Carey's the future, and maybe Evan Carey can look to Navan with a lot more confidence than this match. I'm going to go with Sean Harkins. Sorry, guys. Right, that's a 2 for that. Peter Riley, Killinear versus Peter O'Donovan, Bishopstown. Peter O'Donovan used to play out of Fermoy as well. Good little player, solid little player. Might not be well known on the circuit. JR.
Yeah, I'd know both players. Peter, as you said, he's fairly solid. Peter Riley, though, is a fantastic pitcher of the ball. I'd actually put him up there with the likes of Dunscombe as a player that has the potential. Maybe hasn't got the short game with the flat stick.
Yeah.
But Peter, when he gets going, he's very solid. I remember a match with him and Sean Goggins a few years ago in Ringcommon, and Peter Riley must have been 21 under for 22 or 23 holes. You know, it was unreal, the performance. And he's a Leinster champion before as well, and winning the stroke play in Collinstown. So I think experience, and I think Peter Riley will take him.
Very good. Darren?
Yeah, not overly familiar with Peter O'Donovan, but Peter Riley's a very, very good player. And, you know, he's at every scratch cup. He's nearly first out at every scratch cup you go to. Playing all the time, as JR said, Leinster champion. I really would expect Peter to win that match.
Very good. Right. Next match. A player that I was very impressed with down in St. Anne's. I thought his demeanour, the way he approached, everything about it, I thought was very good. Shoney Bellew Castletown is playing Justin Gill from Loughlinstown. I don't know Justin Gill that well at all, but JR.
Yeah, no, Justin a little bit. He's my boss in work, so I said I'd give him the weekend off so he can go and play pitch and putt, you know.
Yeah. You're nice like that.
I am too nice. Shawnee Bellew is playing very, very good stuff. It's going to be a tough game for Justin. Justin played Patsy Farrell last year in Larkspur, and you know, I think if it was 36 holes, I think Justin would have worn him down. I think the longer format might suit Justin. Justin's can be hot and cold, but I think he might just take Shawnee. I don't think Shawnee would know Justin enough and might get himself frustrated. And I think Justin could surprise him.
Very good. Darren?
Yeah, as I'm not very familiar now with Justin Gill. I know Shawnee a bit. Shawnee's obviously a good player. I just think I'd be siding with Shawnee there. And maybe, sometimes in the match play, maybe you're better off not knowing who you're playing. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So I'd go for Shawnee in that one.
Very good. That gives me the deciding vote. I just was impressed by the way he carried around himself in St. Anne's. So I'm going to go with Shawnee Bellew. For no other reason other than, he looked like a solid player that day. Right. Next one. Michael McMarlow from Atgarvan versus Noel Collins from Fermoy. JR, what's your story? Do you know any of these guys?
I do indeed, yeah. Michael McMarlow, I'd tell you, he's probably coming under the radar here a bit. Very good player, very underrated, possibly streaky as well, but when he gets going, he's very good. And around Kildare, I wouldn't be putting anyone off backing him. Again, I think he's overpriced in the overall betting. I think he's probably 100 to 1 or something like that. I was surprised to see him that big, but I think he might just have enough for Noel Collins. Noel's obviously been around a lot longer and play a bit more, but Michael McMarlow, he's a great supporter of the game with Jesse, and I think he'll take this first game.
Very good. Darren?
Yeah, I think Sam. I think, as JR said there now, I think he's very much under the radar, top qualifier here in Kildare for the match play. Playing brilliant stuff, playing all the time, every single day of the week, every single course around. Shot a couple of great scores there in Garvin, I believe, in the Captain's Prize a couple of weeks ago. I think he was shot a 44, a 41 and a 45. Just capable of doing it. If he can control the emotions and keep the putter in check, he could be very dangerous. He's a very good pitcher.
Very good. Noel Collins, I think.
Noel Collins. He reminds me a lot of Joe Ronan a little bit, actually. He's very similar.
Same shape of ball and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, But he's seriously underrated.
Excellent, yeah. Very good.
He'd look like he's not doing much, but he's body and everything.
Yeah. Noel Collins gets nosebleeds north of Fermoy, so I don't know how well he travels up that end of the country. But okay, you've made your choice. Michael McMarlow progresses. Now, the next match. This is a tough match. I think the bookies got this all wrong as well, by the way. But anyway, what do I know? Gary O'Sullivan from Moy versus Dahi Sexton from Moy. I think this. JR.
Yeah, look, the two guys have been around a long time. Obviously, Gary's only back recently. I think he won the Munster match play a few years ago in part team, was it?
He did, yes.
No, Jaws, he's well able to play the game. Dahi, obviously a very good player as well. I don't know, I just think Gary might just take that one.
Darren?
Yeah, look, hard to know. You're probably more in the know, being down there and have a better idea how they're playing. I'd imagine to be very little in it. I know Dottie's been up and had a bit of practice. Gary hasn't been able to make it. I don't know. I think I'd just side with Gary, but I'd have no good reason why.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just. I'd imagine to be very little in this, and I know Dottie's a fair old competitor, so look, I don't think to be that easy for either player there.
Very good. You've both chosen Gary, so that thankfully lets me off from making a choice. Right, Angus Coughlin Erie versus Liam O'Donovan Brough. This could be a very interesting game as well. JR?
Yeah, brilliant game in store here. Angus was a Leinster match play champion there a few years ago in Inniskeen. Liam has obviously been around the block and he's won a lot of titles around. It's not going to be easy. Probably if Liam gets going early, I think he could take this quite. I I think he could beat Angus fairly well, but if Angus can hang on there and put Liam under a little bit of pressure, I wouldn't be surprised if Angus took him, but I just see Liam just having too much guns for him.
Very good. Darren?
Yeah, it'd be along the same lines. It kind of, you would be expecting Liam to win it, but Angus is a very good player and very streaky, and a lot of it depends. Like, I mean, if he gets a start, this could be a hell of a match. I don't think it'll be straightforward for Liam, but you'd expect if Liam plays his stuff, I'd expect him to win the match, but I don't think it'll be what people will think, I don't think it'll be an easy match for him. If Angus plays his stuff, it could be very close.
The only thing I'll say is if the greens are fast, Liam O'Donovan, the way he bangs the putts into the back of the hole, it'll be interesting to see if he stays on the green if he misses a putt. But, Okay, we've chosen Liam for that one. Next one, Martin O'Neill, St. Patrick's versus Jerry Coyne, Loch Owl.
Yeah, Martin's all class, isn't he? He's a really good player. Another one of the St. Patrick's lads. It's hard to look past Martin now. Jerry's obviously a very strong player in Westmeath. Probably hasn't done it enough outside Westmeath to take Martin on. But look, it could be a potential banana skin, but I just think Martin is experienced enough to get through this one. He's a really top player.
Darren?
Yeah, I'd agree totally with that. Look, I know Jerry's a good player, but I think Martin is capable of a different level. He's a top player, and he loves it around Royston as well. I find it very hard to see any other winner bar Martin in that one.
Very good. Next round, tight match again. I think Jason O'Regan Tralee versus Declan Mulpeter, senior from Royston. Mulpeter, sorry, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. JR?
Yeah, look, this is a tough one again, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Jason, Jason's always thereabouts in match plays and stroke plays. He's always on the cut line. I actually think he was knocked out of the stroke play here a few years ago in 21st position, and he was 13 or 14 under maybe. When we had the mad score in there in Royston in 2010. But then again, that was 10 years ago. So look, we're going back a long time there. Jason probably not the player he was a few years ago. Declan will fancy himself. I just find that Declan, being part of running the course and doing a lot of work on the course, I find myself personally that you do be looking around the course, hope people are all right in this, hope this and that, I think he could potentially be distracted by that. I'm not sure if that's how he is, but I just fancy Jason. I don't know why, but I think I'm just going to go with Jason.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that this will be a close match, and I think a lot of people will look at it and kind of think, Jason will take this match. Look, Jason's a great player, been around for a long time, and terrible nice fella. I think Decky, I wouldn't be worried about Decky or looking around or any of that sort of stuff. As JR would be saying, look, plenty of lads there, and he knows it to do the jobs and look after the place, so he won't be worrying about any of that. Decky's a very streaky player. If Decky gets going in there, I wouldn't like to be playing him. He's capable of just trotting off 9 in a row in there. And, he might throw in a 6 on one of the holes, but this is match play and he can get away with it. I think if he holds his nerve and gets off to a good start, I'd nearly fully expect Decky to win that match.
Okay, I've the deciding vote now, but you make a valid case there for Declan, so Declan gets the vote. Number 2 goes down. John MacDonald, Collinstown versus Patrick Mitchell, Ardnacrusha. Patrick's a young lad out of Ardnacrusha, played out of St Anne's for a year or two as a juvenile because of the friendships with Glenn Towler and stuff. JR?
Yeah, John, he's probably another one of the guys from Westmeath, he plays very well down in Westmeath, but probably doesn't play in half as well outside, Patrick, obviously up and coming, as you said, he's come through with a lot of good players there. I know he's good friends with Keane, Ray's young lad there. I seen him, he was staying down there for the for St. Anne's and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go with the youth in this one. I think Patrick, just up and coming. John probably hasn't travelled well enough outside his own area to be fully confident of him taking him. So I'm going to go with Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go along with Patrick as well. Not that I'm overly familiar with him, but I just, for no other reason than youth is on his side. I'm just gonna go with that in this one.
Very good. And then the last match, Ian Dillon St. Bridget's versus Dylan Hudson St. Patrick's.
Yeah, look, Ian put in a super performance last year in Larkspur. He put in a great performance in Royston the year before as well in the stroke play to finish in the top 3. I think he's a lot of people's favourite this weekend, despite what the bookies say. But he's not going to have it all his own way against Dylan. Dylan can be, he's a good juvenile that's coming through. He's obviously, once again, St. Patrick's, these lads, they all know how to play the game. But I think Ian will get through it.
Darren?
Yeah, I think, look, Dylan, he's a good young player, obviously well able to play if he's able to qualify out on there. And it is, look, it's probably a horrible little match for Ian to have first and a potential banana skin, but I just think, look, Ian Dillon's been a top player for a long time, but the last couple of years he's been just moving up it to a different level, and I think, what he did in the stroke play and what he did in the match play last year, and the way he played and the way he was able to take care of Ray Murphy last year, and all of that, I think it's made him a better player. And I couldn't see him losing this match. The only thing that can let him down at times is the butter, but look, his right and inside out as well. So look, I think he's going to be a very, very hard player to beat there this weekend.
Great.
So I couldn't see passing in that match.
Right. We're going to do this really, really quickly. Kieran Earls versus Paddy O'Sullivan, match 1 of Sunday morning. Quick.
Earls.
Right, I had Paddy down. Run. Damien Creevy versus Tommy Hanley.
Hanley.
I'm going to go Creevy.
I have to go Hanley. Go on. Here's a cracker of a match. John Cahill versus Sean Goggin.
I go Cahill.
Oh, I'd go Goggin. Well,
right. Do you know what I'm going to do now? And just to annoy John Cahill, I'm going to go Goggin as well.
I knew went Cahill because I knew JR would go Goggin.
Goggins is a super match player. Right, this is another. The Sunday morning matches are crackers, especially in the top section here. Declan Freeman versus Chris Scannell.
Scannell.
Scannell, yeah.
Aren't these just class matches? This is what the match play is all about. Right, here's another beauty, match 5. Ian Donnelly versus Derek Courtney.
I go Derek.
Yeah, I'm going to just say Derek. It's written in the stars, I think, for Derek.
2 it is.
Even Murphy.
Right. Stephen Riley versus Ray Murphy, match 6.
I go Ray.
Yeah, as I said, it's going to be Murphy and Courtney.
It is. That's the beauty of it. That's why we got Courtney through to or Ray through over Webster in the first round. Right. Dean Granell versus Barry Thornton.
Dean.
Yeah, go with Dean as well.
Right. William Buckley Jr. versus your man Frank Deneen. That's if he survives the first round match, but you know what.
Silence is golden, isn't it?
Yeah. You have to say
no, I'm going to say Frank, yeah.
Darren?
Oh, well, I'll say Buckley, so you have to decide.
You're a murder!
Now, in fairness, Darren, you know who Frank's going to pick anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to pick myself now. Forget you. Right, match 9. Damien Fleming versus James Foley Jr.
Oh, Damien.
Damien, yeah.
Yeah. Right, James Cleary versus Niall Winters.
I'd have to go James Cleary.
Yeah, it'd be the same, Cleary.
Yeah, they're a little bit. The bottom half is a little bit more predictable, or apparently on paper is more predictable. Games never turn out like that, but for our messing around here, it makes it look more predictable. David McGrath versus Jason Cregan.
I go Jason Cregan.
Yeah, I'd also go Cregan. Yeah.
Now here's another cracker of a match. Match 12: Sean Harkins versus Peter Riley.
Harky.
I'd go Riley.
Nah, got to go with the old lads. Harkins through. Right. I know you're getting outvoted. I'll go with you on one of the next ones. Shawnee Bellew versus Michael McMarlow.
Oh, Michael McMarlow.
Yeah, also going to go with Mark Marlowe.
All right, I'd have gone the other way. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Gary Sullivan versus Liam Donovan.
Liam.
I might go Gary actually with that one.
Really?
No,
Yeah, but that's the type of game now that Liam Donovan could slip up.
Yeah, exactly. I think Liam could go and beat Angus, but then I think he, as you said, the putting could be just too. Liam's have too many of them ones.
No, I'm going with Liam.
You're a pecker. Anyway.
Right, Martin O'Neill versus Declan Mulpeter Sr.
I'll go Martin.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go Martin.
Okay, I was just about to decide with JR there. Right, Patrick Mitchell versus Ian Dillon.
Ian.
Yeah, Ian. He's taking out the youngsters, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He is, right.
Yeah.
So we're now through to the Sunday afternoon. Remember now, it might be hot, it might be sunny.
Yeah.
The guy's getting a bit groggy and stuff, and you're into your second 36 hole. Kieran Earls versus Thomas Hanley.
I go Kieran.
That's a repeat of the match last year.
Yeah, repeat last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I think Earls might just have the edge on him.
Earls won well last year in that one. Sean Goggin versus Chris Scannell.
Go Goggin.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to go with Goggin as well.
Okay. I had that down.
Yeah, I know you'd have went for Scannell. That's why I went with Goggin.
Yeah, that's okay. Derek Courtney versus Ray Murphy. What a match this would be. This would be brilliant. You'd have the crowds around this
savage,
one.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great.
It'd be worth the travel.
It would. Go on, call it.
I think it. Oh, Jesus, you call it.
I'll go with Ray.
All right, I have to side with JR as soon as I've been against him all the other matches.
Yeah, I knew you side me that one.
Right, Dean Granell versus Frank Deneen.
Now, you're not going to side with me this time, Frank, because I think Dean's going to take it.
Right, go on.
Oh. I think if you get that far, you might do it, Frank.
Yeah, but I have to side with JR, so we've got to go with Dean. Right, okay. Damien Fleming versus... I can't put the pressure on myself too much, in fairness now. I'm already after going against you twice already in the first two rounds. Right, Damien Fleming versus James Cleary.
I got Damien.
I'm actually going to go Cleary.
Okay, Cleary could be that could be another great match. I'm going to go with Damien.
Yeah.
But, Cleary has a great chance in that one. Right, Jason Cregan versus Sean Harkins. Sean Harkins is going deep into this according to our little stuff here.
Yeah, he's down quarter as well.
Harkins, yeah.
Harkins, yeah.
Yeah.
Michael McMarlow versus Liam Donovan. Another banana skin possibility for Liam.
I think that's a big banana skin for Liam. I think
Michael might take him. Mick again. Yeah.
Okay. God, we've knocked out two huge, brilliant Deneen and Donovan in the same round. Right, Martin O'Neill versus Ian Dillon. Another potential brilliant match. Two of the best pitchers in the game. Call this one.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I have to go with Ian.
Yeah, I think Ian, but it's going to be a cracker if it is to happen. It's going to be a beauty.
Right.
I think I'll go with Ian.
Good stuff. You're into the quarterfinals Sunday night. Right? You've played two. This is your third 36-hole match. Kieran Earls versus Sean Goggin.
I'm going to go Sean.
Ray Murphy versus Dean Granell. I want
Ray.
to play Ray on Sunday night, to be honest. But anyway. JR?
I'm going with Dean.
Yeah,
I'll go
this
with
is
Ray.
a tough one. Yeah. I think I have to go with Ray. Sorry. I have to side with you,
Yeah.
obviously. Right,
No, not at all.
Damien Fleming versus Sean Harkin. This could be another great match, but it is the third match in the night.
Yeah, I think that might be the one for Sean. 3 games in the day.
Yeah.
I think Damien, yeah.
Yeah, Damien.
Michael McMarlow versus Ian Dillon.
Ian.
Yeah, go to Ian.
Semi-finals. Sean Goggin versus Ray Murphy. Repeated Lucan.
I'm going to go for Sean.
Yeah, gonna say Sean takes the revenge, huh?
Okay, and Damien Fleming versus Ian Dillon.
I'm going to go for Ian Dillon.
Sure. Yeah, sure, why not? We don't have an all-Leinster final, huh? Make it change.
Yeah, make a change,
You know?
yeah. And then Sean Goggin versus Ian Dillon in the final. Who's going to win that one?
Oh, I'm going to have to stick with Ian Dillon anyway.
Oh, I'm gonna just leave it up to you, Frank, because I'm gonna go with Gogs.
I'd have to go with Goggins, I'm afraid, in our predictor competition. Gents, thanks a million for your time. Thanks a million for your patience. Thanks for joining in. For everybody listening, I hope that made a little bit of sense and a bit of fun and a bit of anticipation for the event. And thanks very much. Thanks, gents. I loved it.
Yeah.
And well done to Sean Goggins in our virtual tournament. I hope none of those come to pass.
Best of luck to Royston this weekend and everyone to play. So
thanks, guys. Well done. It's great to be back.
Thanks,
it's a great
man.
game. Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
Looking
Pleasure.
forward. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.